So chances are you have sheet pans like this at home, in which case you would use them upside down, like this. So, because the paper, the phyllo, is exactly the same size as your sheet pan. So you can use it upside down so it's not going to get stuck, it overlaps just a little bit. But we have one sheet pan that's bigger, so we're going to use that one for the bottom. And we're going to use this one because we're going to press it as we bake it. So normally you need two of these, one for the bottom, which you use this way, put your parchment paper on, and then after we do our phyllo layers, you put another one on it so it bakes nice and flat and flaky. But we're going to do one first. Now phyllo comes frozen in a package like this. We're not going to open this one because there's two in there. As I said, you can get this in any grocery store. I have one that is ready to roll. Now, once you open it, it's very, very tender and also very susceptible to drying out. So that's why I have a nice damp towel here. Unroll it. And then when you're not using it, keep a nice damp towel over it. I have my melted butter. This is, I think it's 4 ounces or 2 ounces. Which is it, ladies?
2 ounces.
It's 2 ounces of melted butter. Thank you. For those watching on TV, this is being performed in front of a live studio audience. A little bit of cinnamon in there. You could use cinnamon, nutmeg, ginger, allspice. We're going to use a little bit of cinnamon and a little bit of nutmeg. And our confectionery sugar. One step at a time. One paper thin piece. Oh, wait, Deb, don't get ahead of yourself. Take this. First thing we're going to do is brush our platter. Put a little bit of butter down here. Then take one of our phyllo dough pieces, and they are.
Sprinkle it with the confectionery sugar.
I'm going to skip that part now, but I'm going to do it on the next layers. All right, so we're just laying it in there, and now it really is like paper. Just brush it with our butter. When I was in college, I went to the Culinary Institute of Hyde Park, New York, and I should have these phyllos covered over here, not open to the air, because they really do dry out. But when I was in college, I started a side business of making Napoleons. I used to make Napoleons and sell them before all the holidays. A Napoleon basically means layers, and literally Napoleon is thousands of layers. Now we teach fun, fast, and healthy, and so this is a little bit healthier. It's still dessert. It's not like calorie-free or anything. It's high calorie. But the thing is, it's not all we're going to use. It's a mango Napoleon, so it's going to have fiber in it. Anytime you have fiber in any recipe, whether it's dessert or dinner, you're always making it better for everybody, especially and including people that have to reduce their cholesterol, have high diabetes, things like that. Fiber is essential in our diet, and Americans just don't get enough fiber. So one of the best things you can do is add fiber to dessert. And so rather than just being all pudding and cream, our Napoleon's going to have fiber. So what we're doing here is creating layers. How many do I have on there? Do you guys know? 3? Okay, that's why we have a live audience, so that I stay on track. Now you may notice that there's lots of these pieces of paper here. So you can really make, whoops, I ripped that one. Just lining that up right on there. We could put more than 6 on if we wanted to. I was thinking 6. And it doesn't have to be like exact. You notice I'm not like being neurotic about making sure every inch of it's covered. Alright. But you should be neurotic about covering your pastries, because once these things dry out, forget it. They're no good anymore. Basically, I've tried already taking the leftovers and throw them in the freezer and wrap them up. If you don't use them when you first open them, don't even worry about it. Just get rid of them. Now, one package that's not opened will keep quite a while in the freezer. You do keep them in the freezer. You always want to thaw them out under refrigeration and make sure they thaw out naturally. Don't try to rush them because it'll just mess them up. Just mess them up. How many do we have on there now?
Five.
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 Should we do one or two more just to be on the safe side, right?
Instead of putting butter on, could you use like a Pam spray or something like that? Or wouldn't
Well,
that
you're
work?
certainly not going to get the flavor with Pam
Well,
or
right.
olive oil. You could use any kind of fat, but the whole thing about these is the flavor, the butter. You could probably use olive oil. Like if you were making a savory one, I could see making a savory Napoleon using, say, chef cheese or blue cheese, cream cheese mixture. You could make a savory or appetizer. That's a great idea.
I did that already. I mean, the Greek spinach pie,
Uh-huh.
I used the butter flavors pan.
Right.
Fine.
Yeah, and the Greek, there's a lot of Greek recipes that use these, and they'll use olive oil, and so you said Pam.
And the butter flavored pan.
Yeah, butter flavored Pam. I don't use those spray things because the sprays actually kind of affect your cookware, your stoneware. It's gonna put that. If you ever get any pots and pans that have a sticky buildup,
Yeah.
it's from those sprays. And so I stay away from them. All right, I think that's at least 6, don't you?
Yeah.
At least, maybe more. So we could save this. We might be able to save it, but generally I don't even try to save it because my experience is, how often do I really need more phyllo, right? But we do want to wrap it up nice, keep it in a bag if you're going to try to freeze it. Make sure it doesn't get any air on it.
Can we freeze it?
Yeah, I will. I'm the one that's, I thawed out the whole box and I will refreeze it. It's basically just water and oil and, flour. That's it. There's nothing else in there really, I think. You certainly wouldn't ever want to make them. That's way too much work. All right, now we're going to bake them. Now, they would bake just like this in the oven, but they not stay nice and flat. Napoleon has nice flat layers, and that's why when we first started, I was saying we want to put another pan on top of it. Now, I'm lucky enough to have a pan here that's bigger than my other pan, but if you only had regular sheet pans, use it this way because your phyllo would just hang over the edges. If you wanted to trim it perfectly even, you could. But that way, you're not like cramming it in there, getting wrinkles on the edge, because this is all about perfection. So now we've buttered it again, right? So it's not going to stick to our parchment paper. And now we're just going to set this right on there, and we're going to bake it. 350, 375 degrees. It depends on your oven. It's really hard to say, exactly what temperature to cook it at. The goal is you got nice crispy layers. And so I'm going to pop it in the oven. We're using a convection oven. So my oven is set at 350 degrees with the fan on. If you were at home, maybe I'd go for 375, 400. You want to check it a couple times depending on your oven, because every oven's a little bit different.
Would you use the middle rack?
I would use, yes, the middle rack. Good question.
For how long?
Well, we'll see how long, won't we? So the thing about Mango Napoleons is that we want to have all our mise en place in place. Mise en place means what? Your supplies, your stuff in place. You want to have all your stuff in place. And so we have our phyllo in. We need to make a whipped cream. We need to make our filling. And then we're also going to make a caramel sauce. So let's make our filling next. This is pretty easy. And actually, this is an easy recipe to make. It's just time consuming. Napoleons aren't that hard. It's just that they're time consuming. So this is a mango. In Pennsylvania, it's kind of hard to find really good mangoes. But mangoes should be ripe. Kind of like check them like a peach. They want to be a little bit soft. I bought 4. And this was the ripest one. I peeled a couple of them ahead of time, and we're going to use the one that wasn't quite the hardest because we're going to cook one, so we'll use that one for our caramel sauce. So it should have a little bit of yellow, it should be a little bit soft, and it could get all the way yellow if it was really ripe. But in Pennsylvania, we don't have a whole lot of choices when it comes to mangoes. When you go to the store, you got to take what you get. So first let's learn how to cut a mango. I always just cut a little piece off the end and a little piece off the other end. It just makes it easier to handle, easier to hold, and easier also to peel. So a vegetable peeler is what you need to peel a mango. You can do it with a knife, but it does take off more of the peel, and of the meat rather. So you just peel it like this. And we're going to use 3, you could use this recipe, we're going to end up serving, depending on how, I forgot to cut the phyllo.
Oh.
Before you put the phyllo in the oven, you want to cut it into squares. So you want to cut it into, depending on how big you want your finished dessert portions to be, probably that sheet into 12 phyllo squares, because each finished Napoleon is going to use 3. Okay? I do have the cooking show trick of having it done batch, so those will definitely be cut already. All right, there we have a peeled mango. Now we need to cut it, and that's where most people end up with a challenge. As you notice, was this the most ripe one? These 2 are the 2 ripe ones, okay. So, actually I think this one's riper. See how nice and yellow it is? They have a flat side. I don't know if you can really see it, but you look at your mango and you can see that it's flatter one way than the other. Okay? So the pit's flat. That's the secret, is the pit's flat. So understanding that is how you cut a mango. You just cut down, and after you cut a few, there's your pit right there. And then this part here, a really nice mango, like a peach, is nice and juicy, really, really nice. And then when you're done, you have this part and you eat it like this. Yep. It's all right. It's not really, really ripe. So once you have this is definitely the seed. So you just throw this away. But then we're going to just cut it up. Well, it's really easy to cut. Just cut it into cute little small medium dice, is basically what we'll call it. Medium dice. And I'm going to save some of this. This is 2 here. This is 1 here. We'll save some of it. We're going to make a nice caramel sauce to go with it. And we'll cook some mango into it for the sauce. But this is our filling. Because remember, we're adding fiber, so it's healthier. And our filling has the mangoes where the fiber is. Save this for our caramel sauce. And we're going to use this. What I want to do, and now we do need to save some zest as well for the caramel sauce. So we need some zest for the filling and for the caramel sauce. So before we start juicing, we'll get a little,
I have
yes?
a question for you. Does it have a tendency to brown, like apples or pears or something like that?
It will act similarly. The question about whether the meat of the mango will turn brown, kind of like a peach. It doesn't turn brown as quick as an apple does, but of course, if you leave it out, it'll oxidize at some point. Right. I think of what we're going to do with it, it's not, we're going to, make something, we're going to mix it together, it's not going to have an issue. Because we're going to add lime juice here, and that's going to prevent it, so you can make this ahead, if that was what you're getting at, you can make this ahead, and it's not going to turn brown on you, because we're going to sprinkle a little lime juice in it. So we got some zest This is a zester. You can do the same thing with a vegetable peeler. Just peel a little bit of the green part off. Got a little bit of zest for the caramel sauce. We got a little bit of zest for the filling. Now we just need some juice for both. We're going to just juice this. Just juice our lime right in here. And we'll use half for this one, and we'll save half for the other one. And a little bit of mint. I bought this mint from the mint lady. Actually at Eastern Market. I got it at Broad Hydroponics. You can use garden mint if you have nice mint. My mint's not doing very well right now. There, this is a little bit like a chutney, isn't it? Sometimes it's just easier.
She's the chef. Yes.
All right, this is our filling. Now let it sit for about a half hour so that the flavors can fuse. All right, so this just came out of the oven. It's really, really hot. And as you see, it's golden brown.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to put it on our... You want to get it off your hot pan and let it cool. All right, we're going to get back to that later. Ouch. Now we have to make our caramel sauce. So the first thing we want to do is just melt 4 ounces of butter. Is that correct, ladies?
6 tablespoons.
6 tablespoons. Well, that's what I got there, because I measured it before you guys got here. Whatever you say, that's what it is. All right, I want to get that melted, and we're going to use white sugar, brown sugar,
Salt.
a pinch of salt, Let's use this salt. Pinch of salt, we'll get that in there. And all right, how much white sugar, how much brown sugar?
Half a cup of white.
A cup of brown, a cup of
All right. Half a cup of white and a cup of brown. That's what caramel sauce is, you know, just sugar and butter. So a lot of times on your ingredient list when you buy food it says caramel color. It's sugar. Like if you're avoiding sugar, when you look at the ingredient list, if you see caramel color, you should realize that it's probably sugar. So that's something that a lot of people don't realize. Let's put this in here. And get it mixed up. And then it calls for our zest. Oh yeah, let's put the spices in. We'll put a little bit of nutmeg. Now you can see that this phyllo, many thousands of leaves. It's going to be really hard to cut now. So what you want to do before you put it in the oven is, and before you put your second piece of parchment paper on, is you cut it into something divisible by 3. Because we're going to use 3 for each portion, depending on what size you're looking for. So I already have one pre-prepared, so we'll be able to do that. Because if we cut it now, it's just going to go crazy.
Did you realize that, you know, you
I
had?
probably could have took it out.
Could you have taken it out?
I probably could have took it out.
Did you put that in?
I think I did.
Yeah.
I put cinnamon in, that's the question. Now this sugar gets really, really hot, so stand back. Now the rest of our lime. I guess we could put some mint in there too if we wanted. That would be kind of interesting. Be creative. If anybody has any other groups or clubs that they belong to, I'd love to join you. Yesterday I was presenting at First Capital Credit Union Employee Enrichment Day.
Wow.
That was fun. All right, that's about it for our caramel sauce. We're just going to reduce it down a little bit. It'll get a little bit thicker. And then we'll whip up our whipped cream and let our phyllo cool, and we'll assemble that in a couple minutes. Because we have all our mise en place ready except the whipped cream. So now we're going to make our minted cream, which is for the finishing, put last touch on our mango Napoleon tort. We only need 1 cup. It doesn't have to be exact. They didn't have any 1 cup packages. I don't know what that's all about, but I started out by refrigerating my bowl. When you refrigerate your bowl, it helps things move along a little quicker. You can whip this by hand if you want. It'll take twice as long, but it really doesn't take that long. You know, one of the things, this is really high calorie, but yet it has nutritional value. And, you know, if you can teach your kids, like make whipped cream with your kids, kids today don't know that this is how you make whipped cream. They think it comes in a spray or a bucket. Those buckets in the freezer case are nothing but chemicals in a bucket. They don't even have any food value whatsoever. And so cream has value to your body. When you make whipped cream, you don't want to add the sugar in until it's almost at its peak. Now our sweetener today is going to be our caramel sauce with mango. This is starting to get thick. It's not there quite yet. It's still thin. But whipping your own cream, now you could, it's just going to, whipped cream has such good flavor that if you're diabetic, cutting back on sugar, just whipped cream with no sugar. Or just put microscopic amounts in. When you make things from scratch, you can always control the amount of sugar you add to something. I have mint extract. Every kid should know how to make whipped cream. Like, it's an experience. I made this with some kids in my family one time over Easter, and they were just like so amazed at how they had no idea how whipped cream was made. It's like such a shock for them. To assemble it and garnish, right? Garnish is the most important part. So what I did was take a piece of parchment paper, fold it up, and cut like you would cut a snowflake out of it, cut a heart. So I end up with my heart. Aww. Aww. Well, let's see if we can just do this and make a heart. This is cocoa powder. So quiet.
Artist at work.
Now the hard part is getting it off so that you don't make dust.
Oh.
All right. There we have it. Now it's time, if I can make this without messing up our starter garnish. We have our pre-cut. This is the batch that I cut before I put it in the oven. Now these are layers. Each one's 6, if you remember correctly. So we're just going to put one of them on. And now we're going to put some of our fruit. Which is the flavor from the mint is starting to fuse into the fruit itself. Now, if you were making regular Napoleons, you'd be putting like pudding, or should we say as if, like custard. Basically, it's pudding. You'd be putting pudding on it. All right. Oops. Now we'll put some of our sauce. And now we'll put some of our whipped topping. Now we'll put another one of our,
That's it.
no, that's not it.
Oh.
Not done yet.
Okay.
Napoleon meat is layers. Layers. How's it looking?
Yummy.
Now, as we said earlier, the most important part is the garnish. So we already have our little heart there. Let's take a quick look at this. And we're not done with it yet, though. So now we're going to garnish it. I saved a couple of pieces of mango, and what I want to do is take a red slice as well, just off my mango, because I didn't cut it earlier. But take this out just to add a little bit of color to my plate. We'll put garnish on this side. You know what? I want a bigger one. Put some color here. That's better. And then we usually sprinkle the top with more confectionery sugar. But I want to try to be tricky about it. See if I can sprinkle one side with confectionery sugar and sprinkle the other side with cocoa powder. I think we did pretty good on that. Ready to serve in the fanciest restaurant in town or make at home for the holiday season. Making Napoleons is really not that hard. It just is time consuming. We had a lot of steps there, and it's really important to get each step done before you start putting it together. We can put this in the refrigerator for a few hours. We can make a lot of the different parts ahead of time and then assemble it the next day. So there we have healthy Napoleons because we added fiber. Well, Gloria, how is it?
It's very delicious.
Would you bake it yourself at home?
Well, I don't know. I might make the frittata, the eggs stuff,
Yeah.
but I'm not sure about this.
Why? Why won't you make it?
time consuming.
Okay, but you'll eat it.
Yes.
Okay.
If somebody else makes it.
How do you enjoy your mango Napoleon?
It's very good, and yes, I think I would try making this.
Would you?
The entire arrangement turned out to be what I think would be a great holiday brunch.
Cool. You think
And-
it's too hard?
No, not really, start to finish, 2 hours.
Absolutely. It's easy, but you just have to plan. Good, thank you.